Hey guys, welcome to the 8th episode of this UnBee-lievable Life. Thank you so much for joining me. So today we're going to talk about migraines and my experience with them. And as promised, you'll get some hilarity because I will be modeling, if you happen to check this out on the YouTube channel, the things that I will be showing you. So long story short, migraines run in my family. So some of my core memories of my mom are her mid-migraine, shut in a room with the lights off. I also learned in my adulthood that my grandpa also suffered from them as well. And I'm finding out that quite a few of my other family members get migraines too, actually on both sides of the family. So I have this mixed bag of memories when it comes to my mom and the severity of her migraines. One of the drugs I remember her taking was the one that was called Imitrex was the name of the medication. And it's just, the one thing to me that stands out in terms of her migraines was not necessarily that I didn't have, that I lacked empathy, because I obviously felt bad for her, but it was really a true lack of understanding where she was coming from in terms of the level of pain, the level of nausea. And I really did not understand that until I started suffering them myself. Anything from pain, nausea, light sensitivity. That's why she would have to go into a dark room. All these things, these vary from person to person. And I just didn't, quote unquote, get it until I started having them myself. So my story starts with the birth of Cooper, my son. He is now 17 years old. And that came after he was born. Something obviously shifted with my hormones, and I've had them ever since. Most people that know me, though, know that I generally really try to power through them. I call myself a functioning migraine sufferer. But the most severe ones definitely knocked me on my butt. Knowing my body and reading the signs, though, has been the saving grace to try to stay in front of them and to manage those migraines. Because I will tell you, some of the worst ones leave me throwing up or laying on the bathroom floor because the tile is so cool. So, it really varies. I can either power through it, or if I don't catch it in time, it's just going to knock me right at my tail. So I want to talk about the clinical definition of a migraine. Mayo Clinic defines it as a migraine is a headache that can cause severe throbbing pain or a pulsing sensation, usually on one side of the head. It often is accompanied by nausea, vomiting, and extreme sensitivity to light and sound. Can I just say preach on all of those? Migraine attacks can last for hours to days, and the pain can be so severe that it interferes with your daily activities. For some people, a warning symptom known as an aura occurs before or with the headache, and an aura can include visual disturbances such as flashes of light or blind spots, or other disturbances such as tingling on one side of the face or an arm or a leg and a difficulty speaking. Medication can help prevent some migraines and make them less painful. The right medicines combined with self-help remedies and lifestyle changes created in the Mayo Clinic might help. So my symptoms are all over the board, depending on the day and depending on the headache and what brought it on. Some are all the way across my head. Some are at the back of my head through my neck and shoulders. And sometimes I feel like I have a literal ice pack either going through my temple or through my ear. So none of those is pleasant. And if I don't treat them fast enough, nausea and vomiting can accompany. And oftentimes I'm left semi-aphasic during the actual migraine or after. And I can't quite string words together like I want to. After a bad migraine, just sometimes the words are not there. So what medications have I taken or do I take? Let's start with generic, Excedrin. That's usually my go-to when a migraine comes on. I had to take it today. I'm actually behind on taking my shot, which I've got to do as soon as I get home. But I've just been super busy and I just failed to do it the last 2 nights. So I did have a migraine come on today, and I took 3 of the generic Excedrin. Everybody is going to vary what they need to get through one. But I understand that the 3 that I take is probably likely a high dose. But what I do is I take the 3 Excedrin when one comes on. What I used to do was also then a couple hours later, if I hadn't knocked it like 3 hours later, I would take 3 more Excedrin. My neurologist does not want me to do that. I use Maxalt as like my go-to after the 3 Excedrin. And Maxalt is a headache medicine that narrows the blood vessels around the brain It also reduces substances in the body that can trigger headache, pain, nausea, sensitivity to light and sound, and other migraine symptoms. I did make the mistake once of not clarifying that I wanted the easy, ready to dissolve tabs, and I bit into one. They taste awful. But I guess if chewing through a non-ready tab Maxol is what's going to get it into my bloodstream faster, most people would do just about anything when they're in the midst of a migraine. So, like I said, in the middle, in one of my last visits to the neurologist, he told me to skip that middle Excedrin and to go straight to the Maxol if the Excedrin had not kicked in 3 hours. So that is kind of my regimen: Excedrin first, then the Maxol. So that's my current day treatment medication-wise. And we'll get into my cold therapy later. But what I want to stress, though, is if you take too much over-the-counter medication, either in one day, / in a day, / over the course of too many days, you can actually make yourself sick. So I try to be extremely aware of how much Excedrin I take, because that's considered an over-counter medication. Did I take it yesterday? Did I take it the day before? My goal is to not take it too many days in a row or too many instances in a row, because twice in my life I've had what is referred to as a rebound headache. There's an article by Harvard Health titled "Stopping the Vicious Cycle of Rebound Headaches." They go on to say, rebound headaches, also known as medication overuse headaches, are caused by the frequent or excessive use of pain-relieving or anti-migraine drugs to treat headache attacks that are already in progress. In other words, the same medication that would initially relieve headache pain can sometimes trigger subsequent headaches if they're used too often. So my experience was that it was essentially twice in my life. I had a 30-plus day migraine. That's twice now that I've had that. And I swore to myself I would never let that happen again. And I would describe it as a low grade or constant headache. No ebbs and flows like my normal migraines. My normal migraines are extremely painful. They come on, but they'll go away. These were 30 days or more in a row of a solid migraine. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that I never want to go through that again. So what else do I do? I take a drug that's called topiramate. It is the generic for Topamax. My dosage actually doubled 2 years ago, and at current, I take 3 pills in the morning, 3 pills at night. And it was originally FDA approved as a seizure medication, but in this arena, it is used to prevent migraines in people 12 years or older. I've been taking topiramate probably at least a decade at this point, and I was still having, though, about 15 to 20 migraines a month, even when they doubled my medication. So I finally bit the bullet. I talked to my neurologist, who I actually hadn't met in like 5 or 10 years, like it was a long time in between. And he prescribed me the once monthly shot called Ajovy. And then I also do medical Botox. And that medical Botox, that I'm going to make a whole podcast in and of itself. But the Ajovy shot, I either have Bob help me with, or I self-administer if he's out of town and not home. The Botox I want to share, I have heard people joke about Botox, and to hear that I have to, when I hear that, I have to remember they may not clearly understand how life-saving Botox can be. It's not fun. Believe me, any stretch of the means, it is not fun. It's not glamorous. And when I have to go in for these shots, and I either make Bob or Joelle, for those of you who don't know, Bob is my husband, Joelle is my best friend, go with me to literally hold my hand. It's that painful. And the shots, they usually do 2 lines across my forehead. They put them in around my temple area, and they go down my skull, through my neck, across my shoulders. And I have cried every time I've done it because it's not pleasant. It's extremely painful, but I have to remind myself that for the short period that I have to endure those shots, plus the incentive of the migraine savings program that Botox offers, which can help reduce the cost significantly, it has been life-changing for me. So before the Ajovy and the Botox, though, I went over a decade and a half not remembering what pain-free life was like. But those 2 medications, in addition to my other meds, the tips and tricks I started doing, gave me my life back. And when you have went so long in pain, you don't know any different. So to then fast forward to something that was pain-free, it was life-changing for me. I was able to power through migraines before. Now I didn't even have to, which was good. But I will tell you guys, in the last 9 months or so, the stress has kicked in. For those of you that know, we sold our house, we're building, we had to put our house on the market. I was the agent and the seller. We bought the land, we're building, all those things. And in my opinion, that stress undid everything I worked so hard to achieve in my migraine process. I have learned that clearly stress is one of my major triggers. It's also hormone changes, it's weather changes, and aversion to certain types of lights. So I share this as a reminder that sometimes it's not just medication you have to fine tune or work on. Sometimes it's controlling your environment the best of your ability. Reduce your stress. Watch what you eat, because some foods can trigger migraines in some people. Beware of your surroundings when it comes to smell. Personally, for me, the smell of cucumber melon sets me off to the nth degree. Headache, migraine, nauseous, all of it. It just makes me violently sick. And back to lights. Bright lights can trigger or make a migraine worse, and that includes indoor lighting as well as bright outdoor sun. So I want to take a lighting, I want to take that lighting a step further, because we're almost done with the studio that I built. But not only will I eventually be creating art in there, we're going to be living there for like at least 6 months while our house is being built. And this studio didn't have near as much natural light as I had planned, but my electrician ran a ton of recessed lighting. However, I did have the conversation with him on the front end that with my migraines, I needed to make sure that whatever lights he was running or the bulbs he chose would not be migraine triggering. And he was the sweetest soul. He completely understood. He was knowledgeable in that. And so we were able to put a plan in motion. So some of the information I was able to ascertain in that regard is with my source being a website called lighttutoring.com. They say that dimmed down incandescent lighting has always been the best lighting for migraines. But since those bulbs are essentially eliminated, your best choice will be light from the 2700K LED bulb. The main reasons why light can cause migraines is the brightness of the light, the flickering or the pulsating of the light source. Yeah, I always, joke, some lights I call seizure lights. Literally, they can throw me to a migraine because they're so flickering. They say when the Kelvin color temperature is more blue, and when the light source is high in contrast. So bear that in mind the next time you're redoing your lighting or just picking out bulbs to put in there, that lighting 100% can have an impact on your migraines. Okay, now for the fun part. I want to tackle cold therapy. I dove into this, because we mentioned I had my bad migraines, and I couldn't take over-the-counter medications to an excess. So I had to find out what else would work, or either, to speed up process, the meds I was already taking, or to find alternate means to treat my migraines on the low pain days in order to not have to take as much medication. So, insert stumbling on the brain freeze remedy. University Health News reports many people find that eating ice cream, drinking ice cold water, slurping a slushy drink, or holding cold water on their upper palate is effective. PeoplesPharmacy.com reports researchers have discovered that TRP, transient receptor potential channels on the nerves, are involved with the development of migraine pain. TRP channels are important for sensing temperature. Apparently, activating them with cold early in the process leading to a migraine may help reverse it for some people. So that's where my bevy of cold treatments come in, as I've gotten very adept not only consuming something cold, but incorporating cold in my pain relief. So this was game changing for me. So back when Mia was in 8th grade, for her class project, we made a homemade migraine wrap that I still wear to this day. The premise was that when I wanted cold, I also wanted pressure on my head. And at that point, the kids were really little, and I would actually make them hold their little kiddo hands on my forehead just to put pressure on it. So we made this thing out of soft denim and put sand inside after having researched that sand would get cold but not freeze. Then we added an adjustable strap that gives me as little or as much pressure as I'd like or need for that particular headache. And by the way, again, if you're listening to the podcast, hop over to the YouTube channels if you want to see me modeling these lovelies. So the next treatment is my Be Cool Cold gels. They're adhesive and they stick to your forehead. So I'm going to just really quick show the box what it looks like if you're on the YouTube channel. And again, very cooling. They will last for a few hours. For me, this is what has allowed me to power through work all those years. It could be a full migraine, but I could zone out and continue to work because the cold drew my attention away from pain onto whatever else was at hand. This Be Cool brand does come in adult and kiddo sizes, and I generally find them at CVS. And I will tell you, if you're that bad off, don't be afraid to do the kid version and slap the Mickey Mouse ones on your head, because they're honestly not that different in size. I think the kid ones just have Mickey Mouse on them. So, you know, rock your cool gels at work, at home. It's very easy to do. Then my sister and my mom led me down the rabbit hole of Elastogel brand ice packs. My first one was a head wrap. Essentially, it's like a whole head ice pack. And for migraine sufferers, it's literally the best thing since sliced bread. You may look kind of funny. My kids joke that I look like Danica Patrick with the race gear on that you put on right before the helmet, but I will tolerate any level of teasing just to wear what I call the head helmet. So trying it on, and if you're on the YouTube channel, you get to see it. Again, it is a full head ice pack, and it does have the strap. I don't usually strap it. But then on a visit to my sister's the last time, I noticed that she discovered the Elastogel cervical collar. Essentially, it's a neck version of the head helmet. I mentioned that my migraine botox shots extend all the way down my neck and my shoulders. This has been a wonderful addition to the Elastogel in the cool. It does have a nice strap that you can strap, but it feels great around my neck and up the back of my head. So bottom line essentially is, with all of this for me, cold is good. Cold is fantastic. It's great, in fact. And I use it to get me through some migraines without even having to take medication, or at least trying to minimize the medication that I'm taking. Because again, we want to avoid taking that over the counter like an Excedrin too many days or too many times in a row. Rebound headaches are awful. They take forever to clear, and I would highly recommend avoiding them. Okay. Well, that about covers it. I hope this gives you guys a little bit of insight on the topic. In the future, I'll be diving into other people's stories, and I also want to have another whole one on Botox as a preventative. Like I said, it was life-changing for me, and I'm grateful to the friend that recommended it. I want to normalize the conversation in its regard, and I can't wait to tell you more soon. With that said, if you have any questions or would like to share your story, hit me up. I want to talk more about your experience. I thank you guys so much for listening. And this episode was brought to you by the Nikki Davis team with FC Tucker MD for all your real estate needs. Located in Southwest Indiana, we are local, we are global, and we are here to help you from Indiana to across the globe. So give us a shout today. On the next episode of this UnBee-lievable Life, we're going to be talking with my dear friend Lindsay Charles about congenital heart defects and her son's journey with that, her little heart warrior. Burley, he's just such a doll, and I can't wait for you to hear her story, to hear and learn more. But until then, my blessings to you for a productive and fabulous week. Make it extraordinary, make it unbelievable.